props required. We're just going to go ahead and get right into some movement. The goal of today's flow is to just wake up the body, create space, and get you ready for the rest of your day. So whenever you have your space to practice in, let's go ahead and meet in a tabletop position. And when coming into your tabletop, go ahead and find some movement right away. Shifting your weight forward and back. Keeping the toes tucked to work into the soles of the feet. And find some freedom with your movement, exploring as much space as you can. Working into the wrists, the hands, the forearms. And then slowly starting to work your way through the spine, through the side bodies. Opening up through the rib cage. And if you're doing this first thing in the morning, or even at the end of the day, just kind of opening space up, letting the air in, trying to get a refresh for your body. Just moving energy around, whatever that might look like for you. Maybe flipping at the grip, bringing the fingertips to face the knees. Working through the underside of the forearms. Just always keeping integrity within the shoulders, so keeping a small press through the hands to stay lifted. Feel free to linger anywhere that feels good. These movements can be at a faster cadence, they can be nice and slow and dramatized and really sluggish. Moving through some cat-cows, some barrel rolls. Incorporate as much or as little of the body as you need. Within the next breath or so, finding a nice steady tabletop, flipping the grip back to that starting point. Strong through the heels of the hands. Untucking the toes, stops the feet, come down to the earth. And then from here, go ahead and extend that left leg long back behind you. Kickstand that right leg out and open. Start to open the body over towards the left side of the room as that left arm swoops up and overhead. Dropping the left foot towards the back of the mat, opening through the side body. Pressing those hips forward. Reaching through those left fingertips, create space. And then exhale. Come back to starting point, come back to that tabletop position. Switch sides. So right leg extends long, left leg kickstands out and over towards the left. As you drop the right toes down, reach the right arm up and overhead. Press the hips forward, reach those right fingertips. Up and back behind you. And then exhale, bring everything back in. One more round each side. Inhale, that left leg lifts back behind you, kickstand the right. Open up the body towards the left side of the room as the left toes drop. The left fingertips reach up and overhead. Press those hips forward. Reach and expand through that left side. Feel the stretch to the front of the left hip, the belly. And then exhale, bring everything in towards center. Square everything off. Switch sides, take your time. Inhale, right leg lifts. And then go ahead and kickstand that left leg over towards the left as you open the body towards the right side of the room. Expand, lengthen, open up. And then close everything off. Meaning back into tabletop position. And maybe bring the knees a little bit wider, big toes to touch, sink the hips back, child's pose. Stretch the fingertips up nice and long, rounding the tailbone towards the heels to find a nice subtle length through the back body. Keeping the side bodies nice and long with that reach of the hands towards the top of the mat. And just settle into your space for just a few breaths here. Maybe taking this opportunity to close your eyes, set an intention, or just turning your focus inward. Taking a few deep breaths for yourself. Centering your mind and body onto the mat. We're going to find a few spinal waves here from child's pose to high cobra or upward facing dog at the top of the mat. So just take one more cleansing breath here. Deep inhale. Open the mouth, exhale. Seal the lips on the next inhale. Go ahead and pull the body forward, rounding through the spine. Trying to really create space, push through the hands, rounding through the upper back, spreading the shoulder blades wide. And as the hips fall, peel the chest open towards the top of the mat. Toes can stay tucked or untucked, the thighs can be grounded or lifted. Just trying to create space through the front of the hips, the belly, the chest. And then exhale and reach those sit bones, that tailbone back behind you, maybe finding a cow pose on the way back as your hips come back to settle toward the heels. Finishing that exhale. Inhale, gripping down and into the earth, round through the back. Spread the shoulder blades wide, create space, opening each and every rib across the back body as the hips fall. Toes maybe come away from one another as you peel the chest and heart towards the top of the mat. Feel free to switch things up, round to round. First round, my toes were tucked, now untucked. Starting to find a little lift of the thighs from the earth. Then exhale, maybe moving through cow pose as the hips come back towards the heels. One more round, inhale. Draw the body forward through the cat pose. As the shoulders come over top the wrist, the hips start to fall. Maybe the toes come away from one another. Maybe a slight engagement in the back of the hips to really press those front of the hips towards the top of the mat. Then exhale, lower the belly all the way down. Fingertips come into 10 and 2. And then on your next inhale, slowly peel the chest and heart off the earth. Hips stay nice and heavy. Do lift through the chest. Gaze lifts at the very end. And then exhale, slowly wrap it back down. Inhale, peel up. Feel the movement through the shoulders, the spine, the hips. And then once the gaze lifts, exhale, settle nice and slow back down to the earth. Inhale, peel up. Coming all the way up through center, finding a little bit more space each round. Another exhale, you're dropping that right shoulder in towards the center of the mat as the gaze moves over towards the left. Inhale, lift up through center. Then on your exhale, the left shoulder dips down towards the center of the mat as your gaze goes over towards the right. Inhale through center. Pause at the top here. Really engage those glutes to press those hip points towards the earth. Finding a lift of the chest, subtle engagement of the back body to help keep you lifted. Nice and long and engaged space. Then exhale, belly down to the floor. Hands underneath the shoulders, press the hips back, child's pose. Allowing the low back to round. Tailbone to reach towards those heels, so the space in between. And once again, close the eyes, find your breath. Breathing into the sides, the back of the rib cage. Creating space with the subtle movement of those inhales, those exhales. And take one cleansing breath here, so seal the lips, deep inhale. Feel that expansion. Then open the mouth, exhale all the way out. Seal the lips, deep inhale. Keep the seal as you exhale. And then on your next breath, tuck the toes, send the hips up and back down, facing dog. Staying nice and strong and grounded through the heels of the hands. Start to pedal the feet out one at a time. Trying to create space, opening through the back lines and the legs. And as you pedal the feet one at a time, take your time. Don't feel like you have to rush through it, like you're getting ready to start a race. Take your time and linger in this space. Be dramatic about it. Spend time, explore. Maybe start to bump the hips left to right, opening through the side bodies once more. Maybe getting a little extra press through the palms to find some expansion through the upper back, opening through the chest. Stretching through the underside of the armpits, through the shoulders. And within your next breath or so, settle into your center. Now your next inhale, right leg lifts up and back behind you. And then bend that right knee, open the hip over towards the right side of the room. Reaching those right toes back behind you as you press the right hip over towards the right. Feel that opening. Maybe take a few circles. Don't have to if that doesn't feel good. Just a few back and forth before you settle back into that opening. Really pressing strong through the hands. Keep that body nice and long. And then square everything back. Lift up onto those left toes. Just bring yourself forward. Bring that right foot outside the right hand. Come up onto fingertips. Draw those hips nice and low, pulling that right hip back in space. Chest is nice and tall. Drop the back knee. Right hand comes to right thigh. Lift the body up. Lift that left arm up and overhead. Anjaneyasana. Feel that lengthening through the left side body. Left hand plants. Send those hips back. Ardha Hanuman half splits. Fingertips inside that right foot. Come back forward into that right foot. Inhale, arms sweep up, Anjaneyasana. Hands plant down to the earth. Tuck those toes, lift that back knee. Send the hips back towards the back of the mat, bending into that left knee as you straighten through the right. So you're coming into like a side lunge, keeping that left side body open while you keep those fingertips inside that right foot, bending into that left knee. Feel the inner lining of that right leg. Open up, lengthen up. And then go ahead and plant the right foot down. Spin the toes over towards the long edge of the mat, facing the left side of the room. And then go ahead and find a nice forward fold. Finding a little bit of symmetry. Heaviness of the head. Inhale, halfway lift, find length. Keep reaching that tailbone back behind you, reaching those hip bones back, spine nice and long. And then walk the hands over towards that front right foot. Spin the toes towards the front of the mat. Find that low lunge, pause here. Plant the hands, right foot comes back to meet the left. Pause and high plank for just a moment. And then send the hips back down, facing dog. Integrate into your shape. Left side inhale, left leg lifts. Bend that left knee, open the hip over towards the left side of the room. Reaching those left toes. Pressing that left hip forward. Strong through the hands. Find some hip circles only if that feels good. Just maybe 2 or 3 in one direction and moving in the opposite. Find that opening once more, find that stillness. And then square everything off. Use that right leg to propel the left foot forward, outside the left hand. Pausing in that low lunge, high up onto the fingertips. Feel free to find a rock or two to settle those hips down. Chest stays lifted. Drop that back knee, pause here. And then left hand to left thigh, inhale that right arm up and overhead. Anjaneyasana. Hands plant. Send the hips back, half splits. As those sit bones go back behind you towards that right heel, that chest is still reaching towards the top edge of that mat. Come back forward into that left foot. Lift the back right knee. Spin that right heel down. As you start to bend into that right knee, that left leg straightens. Like you're coming into a side lunge. Let those fingertips stay planted inside the left hand. Keeping that right side body nice and open. Feeling a nice bowing of that right rib cage. And then come back into that left foot. Toes face towards the right side of the room. Finding that wide-legged forward fold. Staying lifted through those the arches of the feet. Engage the lower body as the head hangs heavy. Feel free to grab opposite elbows. Maybe your forearms plant down to the earth, and that feels good. Wherever you are, just keeping those sit bones nice and lifted. Trying to let gravity help you in this space. You're just finding a nice subtle traction of the spine. Inhale, halfway lift. And then slowly start to walk the hands over towards that front left foot. Spin the toes towards the front of the room. Pause here in that low lunge. Might be a little bit more narrow stance than when we first came into this space. And then plant the hands. Left foot comes back to meet the right. Pause and high plank. Feel nice and strong and integrated before sending the hips back down and facing dog. Find a breath. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, bend the knee, open the hip. Pause here. Square the hips off, use that left foot to bend and propel you forward. Right foot comes outside the right hand. Pause, let those hips sink heavy, really let them fall down even lower into your space. Drop the knee, send the hips back, half splits pose. Fingertips can stay inside that right leg, or you can walk them outside. Opening up through that left side body, really opening up the rib cage. Let the breeze flow through, let it feel good. Walk the hands back in towards center. Pause here. Hips sink back, chest reaches forward. Come back into that right foot. Inhale, arms reach, Anjaneyasana. Keep those hip points lifted, low belly lifted. Then hands come back inside that right foot. Lift the back knee, spin that back heel down and start to bend into that back left knee as the right leg straightens, toes lift. Feel that opening. Really reach into those left fingertips. Plant the right foot as those toes face the left side of the room. Wide-legged forward fold. Feel free to find a ragdoll here again, or you can grab hold. Just find a hold that feels good, maybe grabbing the outer blades of the pinkies. Using that connection to help pull that chest down even deeper into the space. Lifting those sit bones towards the sky. Feeling that symmetry left to right. Letting the head hang heavy, drawing that forehead down to the earth. Release your hold. Inhale, halfway lift. Walk the hands back towards the front of the room. Find that little lunge. Draw those hips forward, reach through the chest. And then exhale, send those hips back, come into a pyramid pose. Maybe lift those right toes. Drop the right foot, plant the hands. Right foot comes back to meet the left. High plank. Send the hips back down, facing down. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, over that hip. Really find that expansion, create that space for yourself with that push and pull within the left leg. Square everything off, propel yourself forward. Bring the left foot outside the left hand. Hips sink nice and heavy, maybe prop onto those fingertips. Drop the back knee, send the hips back. Half splits pose. Fingertips can stay here if that feels nice. Or if you want to let a little breeze in onto that right rib cage. Maybe bring the hands just outside the left foot. Keeping those hips sending back in space. Opening up through that right rib cage. Trying to find a nice subtle bump towards the top right corner of the mat. Hands come back inside the left foot. Pause here in your center. Come back into that left foot. Inhale, arms lift up. Anjaneyasana. Lift through the low belly, through that right hip point. Hands plant. Lift the back knee, drop the back heel. Send those hips back. As you bend into that right leg, straighten through the left toes lift. Opening through that right side body. Let it feel good. Feel the length within that right left inner thigh. And then spin those left toes down. Find that wide-legged forward fold. Again, find a grip that feels good. Or maybe no grip at all. Maybe if you find a hold, you're finding a little bit more of an active space. Helping draw yourself, goodness, into your space. Or if you just want gravity to do the work, if that feels good for you here in this moment, just finding a little ragdoll, but still staying active and supported in the legs. Here for another breath or two. Whether you're in an active or a more passive space, keep with your breath. Deep inhales, deep exhales. And then slowly walk the hands back towards that front left foot. Pause in that little lunge as you draw the chest forward, driving those shoulders down and away from those ears. Feel the space within the back right hip. And then send those hips back in space. Find your pyramid pose. Come back into that left foot, plant the hands, left foot meets the right, high plank, downward facing dog. Drop the knees, roll over those toes, drop the knees. Untuck the toes, sit the hips back down towards the heels. Allow your hands to rest onto your thighs, palms facing up towards the sky. And maybe you can close the eyes here in this moment. Come back into your breath. Go ahead and slowly bend the eyes open. Right fingertips are going to come beyond the right toes. And you're swing the left arm across and overhead as you press the hips forward. Reach those left fingertips up the back behind you, open through the front body. Exhale, sink the hips back down. Transitioning over to the other side. So left fingertips plant, the right arm sweeps across and overhead. One more round each time. Sweep that right arm back over towards the right side. Left arm sweeps up and overhead. Exhale, lower. Inhale, right arm sweeps up. Exhale, keep those left fingertips planted. Right fingertips come behind the right toes. Scoop that tailbone underneath you. Start to press through the fronts of the hips. Feel that length in the front of the thighs. And then slowly continue that motion as you open up, unravel through those shoulders. Let them all open. Gaze lifts towards the sky. Keep that tailbone tucked underneath you, pressing those hips forward. And exhale. Lower all the way down. Hands come in front of the knees. Tuck the toes, but bring them a little bit wider, closer towards the edges of the mat. So then you're going to come up and over the toes, drop the heels, make your way into a passive squat. Should feel pretty open over the course of today's class, but if this still feels big, you can roll the back edge of the mat underneath those heels. Give you a little nice subtle prop up. That might feel nice. Maybe you have a blanket, a pillow, a block nearby. Pillow will give those heels a little bit more of a lift. A block will give that seat a nice little bit of support. But we're only going to be here for a few more moments. Bring the palms of the hands together, driving those knees a little bit wider with those elbows. Keeping that chest nice and lifted. Feel free to soften your gaze here in this space. Let's just find 2 breaths. Letting those hips drop heavy down toward the earth. Kind of let those eyes open. Hands come out in front of you, come back over those toes, knees come toward one another. Big toes to touch. And then sink the hips low, back into child's pose, reach those arms towards the top of the mat. Wiggling your belly between your thighs. Finding a nice soft space to nestle into. Nice and slow, start to walk the hands over towards the right side of the room. Left hand stacks on top of the right, and then send those hips back and down. Shoulders square off to the earth, opening through that left rib cage. 2 deep breaths into this space. Feel that expansion. And then slowly start to walk over through the center, over towards the left. Going as far as you feel able, right hand settles on top of the left. Settle that chest down, right hip back down towards the heel. And feel that left side body, right side body opening. 2 deep breaths. Walk your hands back through center. Reach those hands nice and long. Then thread the right arm underneath the left, coming onto that right shoulder, right ear. Gaze underneath that left armpit. Maybe wiggle those left fingertips a little bit closer to the top of the mat. And feel free to keep your eyes open or closed. Maybe find a more introverted space. More centering space by keeping those eyes closed. Press through the left hand, unravel. The right hand meets the left, settle into your center. And then left arm underneath the right, come onto that left shoulder, left ear. Reach those left fingertips as far as you can to feel that twist, that opening within the back of the left shoulder. Two deep breaths. Left hand comes back to meet the right, settle into your child's pose. And then slowly walk the hands back up towards the knees, come into a tall seat. Cross the ankles underneath you, find your way onto your back. And when coming onto your come into whatever variation is calling for you here in this moment. So whether that is your Shavasana, feel free to go there. Maybe the soles of your feet come to touch your knees, fall nice and wide. Maybe that's a space you would like to come into. Or wiggle those feet nice and wide, let the knees come and knock together, coming into a constructive rest. Nice subtle opening from the low back. But come into a space that's calling you here in this moment. Hands can rest on your chest, on your belly. They can come out wide alongside your body, or you can grab opposite elbows up and overhead. It's nice to have options. Don't feel stuck into always coming into the same space to end your practice. Know that variations are available for you. And whatever you come into naturally, stick with it. Let it feel good, let it feel restful. Let it feel open and receptive. If you haven't already, go ahead and close your eyes. Whatever space you chose to be in here in this moment. And come back to your breath. Finding at least 5 slow, deep, steady breaths. As you begin to slowly wind down here in your practice, preparing yourself, your mind, your body, to transition back into your day, whether that's to finish your evening routine and hop in bed, or if it's getting that cup of coffee and getting your day started. As always, thank you so much for practicing with me. It's such a pleasure to be your teacher, your guide here in this practice today. If you did like flowing with me, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel and continue to flow with me every week as I post a new video, a new class here on my page. I look forward to practicing with you next time, and have an awesome rest of your day.